Welcome to Tech Talks, Evolving Distribution. I'm Corey Hayes, and with me is Bill Rosado. Today, we're exploring how digital transformation is reshaping the distribution industry.
That's right. From e-commerce platforms to CRM tools, we talk with industry experts about how distribution can embrace these changes and thrive in the ever-changing space.
Whether you're just getting started or looking for new insights, we've got you covered. Today's episode is packed with information to help you navigate the digital shift.
So let the tech talk begin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tech Talks, Evolving Distribution. Your host, Corey Hayes, alongside your co-host, Bill Rosado. Bill, how you doing today?
Oh, just preparing for the winter storm that's coming. So
Yeah, that's what everybody's saying. I think I'm actually gonna have to. I thought we were gonna get through the whole winter without any snow, and, and it's looking like it's not. And we are happy to have somebody who knows nothing about snow down in San Antonio, Texas.
That's right.
That's actually not true. You're Charlie Hansen is on today. You're originally from Minnesota, right?
Minnesota, plenty of snow.
Yeah, plenty of snow.
The reason I moved to Texas, as a matter of fact, was that white stuff. Yeah,
to get away from this stuff.
Right. So Charlie drove right past us to get to Texas. He's like, I'm
right.
getting out of this Midwest.
Yeah. Well, we're a little worried about it here. We're potential snow this weekend, so people are a little freaked out. Grocery stores are already sold out of everything. You know, that's how it
no
goes.
bread,
South
no milk.
Texas. Yep.
Well,
Exactly.
we got to make this quick so Charlie can go get his eggs and his bread. So
That's right. That's right.
No, super happy to have you on today, Charlie. Other than the snow, how are you doing today?
Great. Everyone's kind of coming out of these winter cold and doldrums and all that. So I had to get through mine, but was good holiday season, and we're kicking off the new year well. So I'm happy with where we're at. Family's good, all that.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. Charlie is the president at DQT, DQ Technologies, is how he has it on the little banner there. So before we get into the conversation today, our evolving distribution conversation, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us about DQ. What is it, the solution that you provide, and just give us the rundown. Introduce yourself to the listener.
Sure. So just personally, Charlie Hansen, grew up in Minnesota. I went to college, North Dakota State, so I'm a Bison. You probably see behind me there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bison.
You played baseball there too, Bill.
So, yeah, that's right. So I'm used to, championships and things like that in our circles.
But, there we go.
So I've been at DQ Tech. It was, I think, 2001, something like that. So, and I came on board initially as a account executive, working sales. We had a couple of other products that we were kind of selling at the time. And then we started to morph our business into more of a delivery-focused solution provider. Now we call that last mile delivery. Back in the day, we really didn't have that cool term that everybody uses today, that kind of last mile term. So our focus as a solution provider is to try to give people real world solutions to delivery friction. And the way we kind of describe that is most of our distributors don't really have a delivery problem, right? They're already doing delivery today. I don't walk into a business and say, hey, have you ever tried delivery? They're doing it today. So what they tend to have is a visibility and communication problem. And that's where we try to come in and make those connections. So connect their people, connect their technology, let it all collide, and make sure that there's some form of measuring and optimization that can be built and wrapped around that. So what we try to do is, work closely with the customers to kind of hit that delivery execution and tie it into all the other important systems that you're using today. Like in your world, obviously e-commerce is a big piece, tying the data that we have from a delivery perspective back into e-commerce and back into ERPs and into other communication layers. That's really where we focus our business, is to make sure we're tightly integrated and solving those needs.
So 20 years of experience. You've been around distribution for a long time.
Yeah.
What are some of the common industry trends that you see as kind of that is a distraction or a challenge for distributors?
Yeah, sure. Well, right now, the kind of the biggest ones are, these shiny tools that get put in front of people, right? And they're great. There's always really cool ideas behind some of these shiny tools. Some of them are, AI that we have, or, routing or proof of delivery or those kinds of things. But they're often just kind of single island-based tools that don't really integrate cleanly with what else you have from a business systems perspective. So they often don't work cleanly with your ERP. They don't work cleanly with your CRM. You have customer communication tools, and now you got customer communication from multiple angles. So the idea is, just adding technology to try to, build this accountability layer through this fancy tool doesn't really solve any problems. It doesn't fix, bad handoffs, or, where you have operational challenges or delayed visibility. And one of the things that, we've really seen pop up, over the last 10 years or so has been this idea of there's been an Amazon effect, right?
Mhm.
Business. And it's not necessarily because we're competing with Amazon in what we do. Most of my customers don't compete with Amazon at all. But at this point, we've all bought something from Amazon. So we have all, been trained to come to expect all these things that Amazon gives us, with constant updates and transparency and proactive communication. And a lot of distributors in our market, try to copy these features, to give things like real-time tracking, promises, notification, but they haven't, kind of fixed the systems underneath. So they often create distraction, or they create layering where, you go to 5 different places to get the 2 pieces of information you need, to give the customer. So the result is like over promised and kind of under delivered when it comes to adding tech into our space. And one of the things we tell people is, we've got a, a software system that does a lot.
Mm.
And it does a lot from an optimization standpoint and a route management standpoint. But the real core of that is, you can have the smartest routing engine in the world, but if your order data is wrong, or if your drivers can't communicate exceptions in real time, then you're not really doing anything better. You're just kind of optimizing chaos that
Yeah.
exists. And in our world, Amazon didn't become who they are just because they had better notification layer.
Mm.
They became who they are because their system's deeply connected. So copying that communication without integration is the noise that is a common industry problem right now.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because you are right. In the e-commerce world, we've also seen that, and I think most distributors nowadays understand that you're not really one-on-one competing with Amazon. I've heard that said once or twice, in a demo or something like that. Well, we want to take business away from Amazon. It's like, well, you're not really serving who Amazon serves,
Sure.
but you,
Yeah.
but you do have an excellent point in the fact that the experience that they have provided has become the expectation, right? That's how people buy their products, and it's going to be increasingly more so as the workforce continues to get younger. They're going to have an expectation of not just buying their products, but having a experience of notification layer, like you're talking about, that
Yeah.
Amazon provides, or somebody along those lines. So putting all of this together in a real world practical experience, describe a moment to us that a client realized your solution wasn't just a tool, but it was that aha moment for them, like,
Yeah.
this is a fundamental shift of our business and this is helping us be better.
Yep. So it happens with most, and the kind of key component is, again,
Mhm.
it goes back to that point of, when I show up, it's not like I've got a fancy shiny thing called delivery that you've never done in the past. You've been doing those kinds of things, but the problem is, a lot of people have been doing them in this kind of funnel to black hole scenario, where you go through all the hard work with your ERP system to buy stuff and to warehouse it and to manage your customers and your finances and your orders and all those kinds of things. But then when it comes to you write an order for a customer and you have to execute, you hand a piece of paper to somebody, and now it's in this black hole where what goes on. We hope it works, and we're expecting it to work, and most of the time it does. So we're successful, but we don't really know, what's happening with that once it kind of gets down into that funnel or that black hole. So in those cases, problems really don't get discovered until after the fact. Customer service is more reactive, and it comes from like angry calls and people that are upset about their delivery failures and things like that. You have to go through all these extra steps to reconcile things with spreadsheets and emails and phone calls. You don't understand cost to serve as nicely as you otherwise could, that sort of thing. So what we usually see from from a moment is, when something happens from a delivery process perspective that doesn't go exactly right, and we already know about it, and we've already been able to proactively manage and mitigate that, before we get the call from the customer, right? It's that real-time update and delivery flow that becomes available to users, and a lot of it is just a small piece of visibility. If you can see where a truck is relative to where they're going, and you can be in front of that, you can talk to the customer. You can say, we're a little behind schedule, and by the way, there's traffic in the area. There was an accident or something like that. Or if the driver gets all the way out there and there was some kind of delivery exception, they didn't have a package, or there was something damaged, all that can be handled in real time, through these effective communication layers, and you can start dealing with it instead of waiting for the driver to complete their day and get back to the warehouse, and then you jump on it. And so it's really that, when you realize that, we're not just putting an app in front of a driver, we're changing how an organization communicates, how they make decisions, and how they have relationships with their customers, to keep moving that forward. And then delivery stops becoming just that kind of back end cost center, and starts becoming a more competitive advantage for our customers, because ultimately our customers are successful because they service customers well. They're not necessarily always winning on price or winning on fancy marketing schemes or anything like that. They're consistent in how they serve customers. So the better you can do that at hopefully a slightly reduced delivery cost, the more successful you're going to be as a company. So that's a long way to answer that. But
no, that's great. Yeah. That's a pack full of information. That's good.
In that whole customer experience, people kind of, when they're looking at what you guys do and even what we do, they don't realize what kind of return on investment that is, right? It's hard to put that in a dollar, but it does affect your growth. And like you said, to keep the Amazon and others out there off of your radar, right? And they're not looking to get into our industries that we serve, because that's a huge advantage, is that customer experience.
Yeah. I mean, so we have very similar, kind of ROI in products that we sell. In my case, if I save $4 or $5 for every delivery because we route a little bit better, we save a few extra miles, that sort of thing. Those black dollar monies, right? So those are real profit dollars. Similar to, like how you all sell products through your platform. If you can sell a few more products that you wouldn't otherwise sell, real return on investment, and it doesn't take much in our world. Probably we need to raise our prices a bit because of that crazy ROI, but we'll keep them where they are for now.
Well, so you build the case for black dollars, but on this side of it, I also want to build the case for time. Like the old saying, time is money. How much time are you actually putting back into your day to focus on customers who really need it, to focus on moving dead product, or what have you? And that's just kind of our world. But think about it at the same way that DQ Tech is changing the amount of time that is required to actually handle their customers. And you start to really build a case for ROI when you contribute it to how many hours am I saving? So, okay. So last question here that we have, what's that big tip? If a distributor changes nothing else this year, what would be that one thing, that one tip that you would give
Yeah. So the one that comes up now, pretty much there's two that come up in pretty much every net new opportunity. It's
them?
proof of delivery and communication. Those are the two main keys. It used to be saving fuel, right? When fuel was real expensive.
Mhm.
Maybe fuel will get more expensive again in the future. I don't know, and it'll be
Yeah.
fuel again. But right now, it's proof of delivery and communication. So what I would tell you to do is try to communicate like Amazon, but make sure you're doing it only when it's true, right?
Mm.
So invest in, accurate and system driven communications, and not just promises and, the things you think you can do.
Yeah.
Are delivery updates happening in real time? Or are they manual estimates? Can that data get into your ERP so it's available across your organization, so that anyone that gets a phone call from a customer can answer the question the same way, so you have the same source of truth throughout your organization. And the dispatch and drivers all rely on kind of that same tech layer to measure and understand where they have successes and where they have problems and where they have opportunity to get better. So, have the opportunity when you have a product like ours, you can really sit back and compare the delivery experience and whether or not it's fair. But being able to over communicate without having any accuracy behind it, really kind of erodes the trust that you'll have between your customers. So, making sure you've got that integration, maybe concise messaging that is true. Better ones are more important than many.
Yeah.
So, more credible, fast, simple communication is really the challenges that I hope distributors in our space are able to really tackle and target, this year.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize how much that deep integration is such a return on your investment also, right? As far as
Yeah,
to be able to answer questions. And like you said, it might not be the CSR that takes the call, right? The customer could be
sure.
calling a sales rep or calling the warehouse or whoever their contact is that they feel most comfortable. So everybody can find that one point of truth, right? You're right, and
Right.
find that
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. And we all have big systems. Like my system's big, right? So I can't expect every user in an organization to be fully trained,
Mm.
on what our product provides. But there's a few key pieces of data that can live across multiple
Mhm.
places. They can live in your ERP, they can live in your CRM, they can live in your e-com side. All that stuff is readily available. And we've made huge strides. Our company, I used to say this, 10 years ago, is that our company isn't really a delivery company. We're an integration company
Yeah.
because I don't really have, like a standalone GPS product that competes with GPS players that are out there today. I have a GPS product that lays on top of everything we do from an integration perspective and
Yeah.
standpoint. So that's where our goal is, to make sure we're better at doing that and giving you this opportunity where last mile isn't just a problem in that black hole, right, where you dropped a piece of paper off, or a driver problem and you hope the drivers do it well. It's a systems problem that you can solve through pretty easy tech, and slight changes in culture, and that's where we kind of focus from a product perspective.
Yeah. I've mm, have it recorded somewhere where I've, said the same thing talking to prospects. We're really an integration company, and websites is just the side effect of our integration,
Yeah.
almost as a somewhat of a way to put it. But like that's the name of the game, is having that integration and bringing forward the data that is true. And I do like that what you said there, and I've said the same thing. It's not just about just mass amounts of data and just getting the customer just as much data as you possibly can. It's about getting them what they need and about getting them the right data and the true data that exists in the ERP. And then that's how you build trust. That's how you build trust with your customer and being consistent in that basis. So yeah, great stuff. I lied. I have one more question for you,
Oh yeah, sure.
but this one's a softball. All right.
Okay.
And I know you can hit a baseball, so I hope you can hit a softball. No, where can we find more about DQ Tech? If I'm sitting here listening and thinking I would love to get in touch with Charlie, what's the best place to go
Yep.
to, and how do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, so DQ Technologies, the name of the company. Everybody knows this is DQ Tech or DQT. We're dqtech.com from a website, dqtech.co, dqtech.biz. We got all those. You can get to us a few different ways. We've got a good group of folks that you can call us. We'll pick up the phone. We've got a few different forms you can fill out. Coming up, we've got a few different events. We belong to affiliated distributors, so we're coming up to a few different affiliated distributor events, the AD events. I think Tug might be coming up. So we have a lot of kind of integration channel partnering style events that happen throughout the year, and we show up at those in droves. So you'll see us around, and then feel free. I'm easy. It's just charlie@dqtech.com. You can feel free to email me as you see fit. I'll give you my cell phone number someday. So.
If you gave it right now, we'd have to bleep it out anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I just like to kind of, from a, closing statement perspective, at the end of the day, distributors really in our space, they win or lose, based on execution. So when you have like a connected last mile from drivers to systems to customers and to data, you're not just delivering a product. Like you said, you're delivering a trust and a service that your customers can rely on. And that's the real reason, someone's going to become and then stay, a valuable long-term customer for your business. And we hope to play a role in that spot. So dqtech.com.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for coming on, telling us a little bit about DQ Tech and what it is you do. Bill, any final thoughts you have?
Well, one, I just really appreciate everything that Charlie, you and DQ Tech have done over the last few decades for our industry, right? It's well appreciated, all right? And we appreciate you coming on and hope that everybody shares this with anybody that needs to hear this.
Hey, you're welcome. I mean, it's great getting to know you guys for the last few months. I'm excited with where we're going with things, and looking forward to the next chapter here.
Yeah, it's gonna be great, and we're very excited about it. And I like what you did, shouting out just where you're gonna be, what you're doing. So I'll take a second and shout out what Bill and I are doing. January 29th. If you're in the P21 space, we have a webinar coming up, and it's gonna be great. 10 things that your distribution website is missing and what to do about it. So January 29th, make sure to check that out. Reach out to Bill or I. We'll get you.
We'll have to get one on the books. That'll be
you got to get a DQ Tech. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. We've talked about that for a while, so that'll come out sooner or later this year, where we'll have some webinars coming out with Charlie, and I really appreciate you and Kevin, everything you guys do over there at DQ Tech. You guys have been great partners in the space for sure. So thanks again for jumping on, and thank you for listening to Tech Talks Evolving Distribution. Remember, episodes coming out the first and the third Thursday of every month. Be sure to tune in. Go to YouTube, go to Spotify, go to Apple Podcasts, subscribe so that way anytime an episode gets uploaded, you know about it first. So, Charlie, have a great day. We appreciate you being on.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it, Bill.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Tech Talks Evolving Distribution. Thanks for tuning in.
And we hope you've gained some valuable insights on how to embrace digital transformation and stay ahead in the distribution industry.
A special thanks to our sponsor, Aldrich Web Solutions, for supporting this podcast. With over 20 years of experience, they've been helping distributors win online and maximize their digital presence. Be sure to check them out if you're ready to take your business to the next level.
And if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And of course, share this with anyone who could benefit from this conversation.
We'll be back next time with more expert insights. And until then, keep evolving and embracing change.